Hi everyone and welcome back. Today's video is honestly about one of my biggest pet peeves in the horse world as an equine behavior consultant and how often companies are profiting off of products that are damaging to horse welfare. There's one product in particular that I want to talk about to illustrate an example of this, but this is truly an epidemic in the horse world where people are constantly seeking out these band-aid fixes to try to solve problems with their horses that are stemming from an underlying unmet need in most cases, or underlying pain, stress, anxiety, fear, discomfort, etc. And all of these types of products just focus on suppressing the symptoms of those problems, which are usually behavioral, and they're not actually addressing why those behaviors exist in the first place. So then it puts the horse in this position where they are forced to just cope with the anxiety, stress, fear, pain, or whatever is causing the behavior. And they've now had one of their coping mechanisms taken away from them. Because the truth is, a lot of the coping mechanisms we see horses doing to help cope with stress are behaviors that people find annoying. So the product that I want to talk about is the QuitKick, and it's a product that is a box that you put on the door of a stall. And it sprays water upwards to hit the horse as a punisher for when the horse kicks the stall door. I know a lot of people are going to hear that and go, water's not painful, it doesn't hurt the horse, that's no big deal. And that's not really the point. It doesn't cause pain, but it does create discomfort, it elicits fear, and it's a punisher. That's why it works. That's why they are selling it as a means of stopping the kicking of the stall door, because the water serves the purpose of punishing that behavior. It absolutely is a punisher. Secondly, things don't need to be painful to be harmful to horse welfare. So the problem with this is that horses end up kicking the stall doors because they are confined in a stall. The door represents an exit point from the stall, which is why we see a lot of stress behaviors in stalls happening at the door, where you'll see horses weaving from side to side, or you'll see horses kicking at the stall door, you'll see them cribbing off of the stall door, you'll see them doing weird oral behaviors over the stall door, and any number of stress behaviors that stem from being chronically stalled. A lot of them occur at the stall door. The stall door also represents the only external point of stimulation that horses have in stalls, especially where there's no bars between the stall walls and they cannot see other horses. The only real escape that they get from being in that dark walled box is by sticking their head over the stall door and seeing what's going on outside. So then when horses are looking at the outside activity and they want to go check it out, like during feed time, and they are being prevented by the barrier that is the stall door, it is a natural behavior to start kicking it or to weave or to do some other type of locomotory behavior to try to fulfill the urge to move away from the stall. The reason why a lot of these feed time stress behaviors do not exist at all in horses who live in herds outside, or if they do, they are at a much lower intensity. You might see horses pawing a little bit at the gate during feed time, but provided they have free choice access to forage and they're living in a herd and they have space to roam, it is almost never to this intensity. And they also tend to adopt different behaviors like walking up and down the fence line because they have the room to do so. So it doesn't escalate to this point of intensity. Behavioral suppressants. Finishers are behavioral suppressants. They serve the purpose of suppressing unwanted behaviors. They do not deal with the underlying cause of the behavior. They do not deal with what is motivating the behavior. They don't deal with the emotions surrounding that behavior. They are just suppressing the behavior. Suppressing these is when you're suppressing these unwanted behaviors and the underlying need that that behavior is fulfilling is never being met. The horse has now had that coping mechanism that the behavior was removed from them, and they still are dealing with the underlying discomfort that led to that behavior resulting in the first place. If you spray your horse with water, they might stop pawing at the stall door, but they're still going to be stressed from being stalled too much, and the pawing at the stall door was representative of that. It was a means of communication. It was the horse showing you that they're uncomfortable with that situation, that they're unhappy, and that they're stressed, and that they are looking for an outlet. So when you suppress that, they might stop doing that behavior, but it doesn't change the fact that they're still feeling those emotions because they haven't been offered any alternative. The issue that I have with this product is it's suppressing a behavior that at its core is stemming from unmet needs, and it's offering horses no alternative. A better solution to this type of product would be to give your horse either more turnout, more engaging turnout, stall them less would be the obvious choices first. But if you cannot do that, the better solutions would be to get them some toys and things that they can interact with in the stall to help occupy them and keep them less bored, rather than just trying to suppress the behaviors that they adopt due to their boredom. Product is that it is inherently flawed to be using a spray of water to deter unwanted behavior if you want your horse to be good for hosing spray bottles or any other instance where you're using water in a similar fashion, it is the closest to being sprayed with a spray bottle. So if you're doing this, you're creating an anxiety and a punishing association with water that you're going to want to use in other settings, and you're going to want your horse to tolerate it and behave for it. So it is a foolish thing to use as a punisher when it's something that you want to use in other settings and not have an aversive reaction on the part of the horse. It'll take quite a bit of repetition for the horse to link the pawing at the stall door as the exact behavior that's being punished, because in order to get hit with the sprayer, they need to be by the stall door, they need to have their head over the stall door, and then they need to kick the stall door. So a lot of horses who have this repeatedly happen may learn, hey, if I stick my head over this stall door, I run the risk of getting sprayed, and I find that unpleasant. And then if they start to avoid looking out the stall door because of that, you've now punished and removed yet another coping mechanism to provide them with some level of self-entertainment and stimulation in the stall, because the window of the stall represents their only access to the outside world in that circumstance. So if you punish them for that and you make it uncomfortable for them to be in that type of situation, you're taking away yet another coping mechanism and associating it with another level of discomfort and unpleasantness. Like you can see in the video with the horse who got sprayed when they were first testing this, the horse ran back into the stall and then came right back, but his posture and his behavior is anxious. He's not comfortable in that situation. So with more repetition of being sprayed, if he paws again, because it will take more than this one time, he might learn that it's not a good idea to put his head over the stall door. And then he's now had that one access to the outside world while being stalled removed from him. Or even if he still does it, there's going to be a certain level of hypervigilance and anxiety associated with it, because he's going to anticipate potentially getting sprayed with the water because he doesn't know exactly which behaviors are going to elicit that response. And unfair and irresponsible for people to suppress behaviors and try to punish stress behaviors that at their core are stemming from human management and human interference. It is our job to make adjustments to care for the benefit of horse welfare, and if our horses are showing signs that they're struggling, it's our job to look deeper and get to the bottom of it and address why those behaviors are occurring, rather than just getting irritated by them and trying to suppress them while offering the horse no alternatives and no better lifestyle to prevent them from feeling the need to do those behaviors in the first place. Big problem with companies like this profiting off of something that at its core is rooted in ignoring the needs of the horse and suppressing stress behaviors and not addressing the welfare component of it. Using an imagery for this product is about stopping the horse from pawing. I have seen no commentary on their page about providing stall enrichment, improving the amount of time that the horse is out in turnout, or providing any alternative to stop those behaviors, or referencing why they exist in the first place. Responsible marketing, in my opinion, it's exploiting horse owners and trying to get them to buy a product that is going to harm their horse in the long run and not address why these behaviors are existing in the first place, and also not push them to consider, hey, there might be some enrichment that you could provide your horse in the stall to make their life better and to make it easier for them to cope. As a solution, and not talk about why the problem exists or offer any alternatives to help reduce pawing behaviors or provide the horse with entertainment when you've now removed that coping mechanism, is just really irresponsible. Either this company is morally bankrupt and they don't care about horse welfare, or they are very ignorant and they're not aware of the fact that this is a welfare issue. From a place of expertise and experience, I'm a certified equine behavior consultant through the International Association of Animal Behavior Consultants. I've done extensive equine sciences schooling through the University of Guelph, and I've specialized in horse behavior. And this is something that holds true across species. When you suppress stress behaviors without dealing with the cause of stress, the stress still remains. So while the behaviors might stop being visible, the stress is still there and it hasn't been addressed. Unwanted behaviors, consider looking deeper and asking yourself why they might feel the need to do that behavior in the first place, instead of getting frustrated and just seeking to get rid of the behavior altogether. I also think it's important to touch on the fact that a lot of their marketing is about horses potentially getting injuries from kicking the stall door. There has been a number of studies on horses who are stalled and the number of physical and mental health issues that are correlated with excessive stalling. Horses who get limited turnout are much more likely to sustain soft tissue injuries during work when they're ridden, which is a concern, and soft tissue injuries are very difficult to heal and they don't always have the best prognosis. horses who are stalled excessively are also substantially more likely to have conditions like colic, which is the #1 cause of mortality outside of old age in horses. Colic is dramatically increased in risk when horses are spending a lot of time standing still and isolated. Stress also increases risk of colic. Stalling also increases the risk of ulcers, and stomach ulcers are very highly associated with stress, and they cause a lot of pain, and they can result in horses developing stress behaviors such as kicking the stall door. So them clinging to the idea of trying to prevent horses from injury by offering this product is not in good faith, in my opinion, because it is implying that this is the best and only way to prevent those injuries from happening, when in reality it is a lot more holistic and ethical and healthy for the horse to just have their needs adequately met so that they're not developing these stress behaviors in the first place. Another thing I want to point out is that their website says that their product is endorsed by professionals and recommended by professionals, and I think this is why it's so important to ask what kind of professionals, because I can almost guarantee that professionals that they're referencing are not going to be in the equine sciences, welfare, equine behavior field. They're going to be people who are riders and professional trainers. They're not going to be people who are committed to ethics and well-being of horses, and also well educated on what stress behaviors look like in horses. So professionals endorsing this product does not mean much if those professionals are not experts in welfare, and you'd be really hard pressed to find someone who is in the horse welfare sphere that would endorse a product like this, because it is a complete antithesis to promoting good welfare in horses, because it is fixating on a problem that stems from impacted welfare and seeking to just suppress that problem. I recommend being wary of any product that promises some type of immediate fix, because unless it's actually curing an issue, like treating your horse for ulcers, for example, helping with their hoof health, turning them out, addressing what is causing the behavior, if it's not doing that, it is probably a behavioral suppressant, and it's not actually getting to the root of the problem. It's just going to suppress the symptoms of the problem, so it's easier for the person to ignore, which is not ethical. Companies for horse products I think that companies for horse products have a responsibility to market in a way that isn't inherently dishonest, and I don't feel like this company is doing that, and I just have so much concern with the types of products that are not only allowed to be sold on the equine market, but how they advertise themselves and how many of those products are in direct violation of horse welfare. My content, you can check out my Patreon channel for behind the scenes content, training tutorials, and more. I also have an online shop that I have some pretty substantial sales going on in, and I just released spooky season merch as well. All of my bridles in my store are on sale right now because I'm bringing in new stock. So if you're interested in supporting the work I do, that's a great way to do that. And I'm going to continue posting welfare content like this because it is so needed. So much of the equestrian community is committed to suppressing behaviors so that they're not annoyed by them, but they don't look deeper as to why those behaviors exist so that they can actually help their horses cope better, which is something we all need to be doing.